Okay, just resizing the frame. So, um, I was just searching Alain Connes to see if he had any new talks, and somebody on YouTube uploaded his non-technical talk to physicists about his non-commutative geometry. And so I'm listening to it and really enjoying it because, obviously I need a non-technical presentation. And it's actually 3 different lectures he gave in 2016. And I did a blog post on it, so I'll post a blog post link. And in the second lecture, he gives the best summation of the music analysis secret that I discovered on my own when I was in high school. And then I discovered Alain Connes' talk, Music of Shapes, in 2017. Greetings. And so there's been various versions of that talk posted on YouTube that I've cited. But it's always nice to have like real corroboration because this is a really wild claim, and I can find nobody else making this claim except Alain Connes about the secret truth of music being a quantum sphere. So in this talk to physicists, the lecture to, let's see, I made a playlist of the 3 lectures, and here they are. So this talk is very similar to the talk he gave in 2015 to physicists that I had sent to Basil J. Hiley, and Basil J. Hiley said he knew a lot of the physicists in the audience and that he really appreciated the talk. And he sent me an email, saying he was working on the same, like, Alain Connes' ideas and then relating it to quantum biology. So at the end of the 3rd lecture, Alain Connes says that our observation of time emerges out of the quantum. But in the 2nd lecture, he focuses on the music theory. And if you listen to that Music of Shapes talks, his previous versions, he says that the way our brain perceives time is due to this quantum non-locality that's then doing a Fourier transform on space-time itself. So it's in the 4th dimension, but it's like four-dimensional space-time, but it's existing in this fifth dimension as quantum non-locality. So how he explains that is through this music theory. So in the 2nd lecture, he says he reviews the same details and basically says you have a 2-note chord, and those are the vibrations on the disc. So like this, based on this shape of a drum, and you cannot observe the shape of a drum because of this spectrum of the powers. So as he points out, the powers of 2 and 3 don't go into each other, but he's saying that the spectrum as a set of powers grows exponentially. And so why does it grow exponentially? In other words, it's not just a sphere, it is a quantum sphere. And so he has an image of this quantum sphere. And if you look at the actual formula for the quantum sphere, you have this inverse exponential subtracted from an exponential. So in other words, you have this non-commutative ratio for the quantum sphere, because the inverse ratio is in music theory, it's the 12th root of 2 and the 19th root of 3, and then the exponential is the 2 to the 19 and 3 to the 12. So this is what I was quoting before in my my reference to Alain Connes, but this is the only place where he says it all in the same talk. Where I think there's one other quote I have of him where he refers to it in the same talk, but I don't think so. I think this is the best he does, where he, in like the same paragraph, he says, when you take 2 to the power of the 19th, it is almost 3 to the power of 12. This is telling you that the 12th root of 2 is almost the 19th root of 3. When you compute them by doing the continuous fraction expansion, it's not difficult, then you realize that in order to have good music, you see the digits are almost the same. You have to take the spectrum. We're looking for space by knowing its spectrum. So then he says the spectrum are the powers of this number. So he's saying if you take the spectrum of a sphere, it's actually not a sphere. The sphere cannot work because the music spectrum grows exponentially. So why does it grow exponentially? Because of this inverse non-commutative dynamic where you have in order to go back into the scale, you have to divide by 2 as the inverse of the exponential. So in other words, it's an inverse power, inverse exponential. I don't know what they call it, but it's, you have a subtraction sign in the to the power to the negative number, which is actually a inverse, like a division. So when you do it in continued fractured form, it's a division. So anyway, I have this quote in here, and so this is confirming what I've been saying over and over. But like I said, I've been having to quote Alain Connes like in various different sources because he never mentions the inverse in the same paragraph where he's saying 2 to the power 19th is almost 3 to the power 12. This is telling you that 12th root of 2 is almost 19th root of 3. So that's what he means by this quantum sphere, is that you have that inverse. And then he says the chord is the 2 notes. So he's saying that you have the same area. It's the same area of space, but it's a different geometry of the space. But it has the inverse of the time and the frequency as a chord. So he's saying that the way you create a point in space is when you're allowed to have both chords at the same time. The both chords are these non-commutative chords, and that's exactly what the 2 and the 3 are. And so he says that let's see here. He says the ear is sensitive to the multiplication by 2 and the ear is sensitive to the multiplication by 3. So that's what he means is this. Basically, that's the perfect fifth. So as inverse, it's C to F as an undertone, and as an overtone, it's C to G as a perfect fifth. And that's exactly it's this very simple secret. He says that it tells us something very profound, that the corresponding space has to be smaller than any sum, and the beautiful answer is a quantum sphere. So that's the secret of meditation as alchemy as well. That's my argument. And so just want to point out that the second talk, it's at about 55 minutes in. He goes into the music theory. 58 minutes into lecture 2. And so he's repeating this quantum sphere claim. So that just corroborates the whole foundation of what I discovered when I was like, a teenager. And he's saying this is the truth of reality. And that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Now I'm going to go mow. Because there's truth and then there's practical reality. So just very happy that somebody uploaded this 2016 talk by Alain Connes.